Pleasant Hill, a beautiful picturesque area in Florence, Alabama, and home to this JT Miners and Red Worms truck, kind of a local famous photograph spot. Now there's even a bike, and it's my other two wheels that I usually bring out here, and I have another new set of other two wheels, a Vespa, back in the fold, back where I belong. With a Piaggio product, Vespa is a premium Italian product, hence all the curves and the fancy lines. There's a few things that make Vespa special. The monocoque body. What makes this different than most scooters or motorcycles is that this is steel, and that steel wraps all the way around. Even here, these side cowls, which are no longer cowls, they're just made onto the body. But this is all one piece. Here at KevCentral, we like mountain bikes. We talk about double wall alloy rims. Well, this is kind of a double wall alloy or steel frame because all that is one piece and it's all steel. And what that does is it's better than a tube frame. Back in the day, it was actually lighter. I think it was the only way they could get really lightweight and strong back in 1946 when Vespa first became a thing. But this monocoque steel frame gives this stiffness where a tube frame, because normally a motorcycle or a scooter is a series of tubes that's hidden underneath superficial plastic panels. Well, you're looking at the exoskeleton here. This body is the exterior and the interior. It's all one piece, rigid and strong, and that helps give Vespa their famed smooth ride. Today is going to be a feature rundown of this Sprint 150S, but we're going to go over a couple of more things really quick. We just covered the body. Also want to talk about Vespa having two sizes usually. They have a large frame and a small frame. And this Sprint is part of their current lineup of small frames. There are currently two bikes that are considered Vespa small frames. This Sprint and then the Primavera. The difference between the two is just a couple of small things because all this body is all the same. Both small frames, Sprint and Primavera, have the exact same body. What makes the Sprint special is up here at the headlight. The trapezoid, or at least kind of a trapezoid. There are a couple little sides here, little notches that make it not technically an actual trapezoid, but they still call it the trapezoid headlight. And this has been around, as far as I know, it goes back to the GL from the 60s. And there was also a Sprint in the late 60s and early 70s that had the trapezoid. But it's not just the trapezoid headlight that makes a Sprint and differentiates it from the Primavera. There's also usually a specific Sprint graphics package. And on this one, you can see there's these stripes on the cowl and matching stripes down here. Sometimes, some years, they're on the fender. It's like they go back and forth with the graphics, and it'll be different kinds. For my specific model, it's stripes, a gray stripe and a red stripe. And also for my specific Sprint S model, there's this, the TFT digital display. We'll get to that. Let's go over all these features from top to bottom. We'll do it just like I do a bicycle, and we'll start up top. End to end, we'll kick off with these grips, rubberized grips. This, of course, also the throttle, because it's like a motorcycle, because it is a motorcycle. 150cc class, Vespa branded rubber grips for this right throttle grip. The same thing on the other side. Along with the twist throttle, you can see in chrome there are two other control components separated on both sides of the bars. Let's go over to the left, look at this one. The top hat switch is the headlight. All the way to the left for bright, leave it in the middle for dim. You have a passing or a flashing indicator here. If you go all the way to the right, below that, the turn signal switch. Left for left, right for right, press in the middle to cancel. Usual motorcycle stuff. And of course, the horn. I'm not going to blow it because there's a house across the street, but it's the meep meep type horn that you would expect to hear on a Vespa. To the right, corresponding with that right twist grip, this is the kill switch. All the way to the left to kill, to the right is run. This is the start switch. You have to squeeze a brake lever on this, then press the start button to start. Either lever will work. It's usually easier to just do the right, since that's where your hand and your finger's going to be to hit this button to begin with. Then there's this, the mode selector switch. And that's going to work in conjunction with this TFT display. To get that turned on, we're going to need to drop down where there are two other controls, the keyed ignition switch And that opens this seat. We'll look at that in just a second. Let me turn this on, show you what this does. At boot up, in daylight, I can see this perfectly fine. On camera, you really can't see it. But there are indicators on the left and right, and then a full suite of tech info. Actually, I'm going to get into that in its own separate thing. First, let's run through some of the other components. Also, part of the headset, these mirrors. Vespas are known for round mirrors, but this is the Sprint, so it gets these teardrop-shaped chrome mirrors. Some models have black and will have all black trim. This one, gray and chrome, including the bezel on that trapezoid headlight. Decently bright. I'll edit in some footage of this running because in low beam, the top illuminates. High beam, the top and the bottom illuminate, and it does project out light quite well. I really like this, a good modern take on an already classic, making it, well, a new classic. This is the United States. This is normally the turn signals in every other country, but here you have to have these little pod because there's some measurement or something. You can see they're just barely further out than this. A lot of people retrofit, take these off and go with these, but for right now I'm going to leave these. One important note here, everything's pretty much LED on this. You'll see LEDs here. These are incandescent. It's kind of interesting. Well, I guess we'll go right down to these. These are LED, and again, I'll edit in and show you all these running. And sandwiched between those two running lights that would normally be turn signals is the horncast, the famous Piaggio Vespa horncast. And for these years, the most recent models of Vespas, they go all the way down to the bottom, and I really like that. Reminds me more of the Vespa PX, or even all the classics. They just all had a longer horncast. This horncast is plastic. They usually are, except on the most vintage of Vespas. But I want to point to these little horn grills. These are red on this model, kind of ties in with the red trim here. But sometimes they'll be chrome or blacked out. You can buy these. I've seen them in Italian flags, different colors. Really cool, kind of a customizable treat here on these new modern Vespas. Let's move down even further to the front fender, also plastic. I've mentioned the body is metal, the horncast plastic, the front fender plastic too, which I actually like. You would think that I would want metal, but this plastic can take a hit a little better. You can rub it on something and it doesn't dent. So I like the plastic fender up front. Now below that, the wheel. Vintage Vespas are either 8-inch or 10-inch. And years ago, I had a scooter that was similar to this. It was a modern Vespa. It was a 150S, and it had an 11-inch front wheel. There was some controversy about that. 11-inch front wheel and a 10-inch rear. Well, now they're both 12s. These rims, aluminum alloy and black for this specific Sprint Sport model. And you can see they are mag style, and usually Vespa does something special with rims for each different model. And this particular year, Sprints get this, and I like it, at least on this model. There was a black, a matte black, and then this matte gray, which has a specific name I'll put on your screen, but it's an Italian name. These black wheels have the S graphic on them, and they're wrapped with Michelin tires. Michelin City Grip 2, and I just talked to a scooter dealer that had been a dealer for 12 years. He said these were his favorite scooter tires. They gave the best traction in both dry and rain. Also, part of this front wheel is the front suspension. You'll notice the Vespa is a lefty, kind of like a Cannondale. Vespas have always had this aircraft-inspired landing gear-looking front suspension system. Your coil shock, and then hidden behind this is another tube, and this pivots. It's an anti-dive mechanism. The heritage from that comes from Piaggio being an aircraft manufacturer, at least making aircraft parts. I think they made whole planes. That's how you get this lefty aircraft landing gear looking suspension system. But it's also one of the things, along with the rigidity, the stiffness from this monocoque frame, this gives the Vespa part of its smooth ride. That's an anti-dive suspension system. So where a normal fork system, you'll brake hard and this dives down, this doesn't. And also see hidden back there the disc brake, and here's the disc brake caliper. Also note that this brake system on the front is an ABS, anti-lock braking system. It's disc brake up front, drum at the rear. Let's move down to the inside where there is a glove box on this model, and that key presses in, goes to the on position, presses in to open up the glove box. You can see not a lot of room, but there's still some room. Now also tucked in here is this. That is a lever to open the seat if for whatever reason this button didn't work or your battery ran down. Actually have a lever down here, a mechanical lever to open the seat. I like that. And there's this, the USB-A port, so you can charge your phone, which fits conveniently right there. There's not much that can fit in there, but a phone will. On the opposite side, well, there's just not a lot. There's your fuse block and, well, no other room. So very limited storage, but it does have storage for something. Like I said, a phone will fit in there, maybe your title documents, things like that. And I can see the pollen forming as I'm filming here, but we're gonna move down from this glove box. See all that pollen? And I wiped this down right before I started filming. But I'm gonna move down to the floorboard. One of the things that makes a scooter, that easy, comfortable step-through design. I don't know if Vespa invented step-through, but they certainly made it popular. And also the shape of the body, this forms a leg shield to guard you from wind, rain, and so on. Ease of access, and of course a Vespa. There is a battery hidden under this center tunnel. And this is also a plastic overlay, but it's an overlay over the steel body. I like that they're doing an overlay here now. Makes it easier to care for, easier to keep up. And another Vespa thing, they've always had floor rails of some kind. They're still rubber, mounted into this. 3 rails on each side. And that's your floorboard with the center channel. Also part of the floorboard is these things. They're on both sides, and these are foot pegs for a rear passenger because you can carry a second person on these. There's the power to do so, so it's good that they have a place to put their feet. Vespas are iconically designed up front, but that Italian styling carries over to the back. Just look at this rear end. With the sweeping cowls, they come out. Now in classic years, these were actually separate panels from the body. You could take them off and there was a spare tire on this side and the engine on this side. Well, on modern Vespas, it's all one piece now. Guess we don't need spare tires anymore because we have roadside assistance and all of that, and phones now. We always have our phones so we can call someone. Look at this rear rim, also 12-inch with that S marking and this beautiful, beautiful body on this Vespa. Such classic lines. And you always have Vespa writing over here on the left and the model on the right. Got Sprint with the red S, denoting, of course, the S trim package. I mentioned this has a drum rear brake. That is it, and here's the adjustment. What do you think so far? I'm liking what I see style-wise and component-wise. Now we're to the big thing, the powertrain. And modern Vespas get the Green Experience Technology. Robot from Vespa Motorsport in San Diego calls this iJet. But I've heard everyone else say iGet, and I'm in the US. So that's what we're gonna say, how it's spelled, iGet. Here we can see Vespa. Told you they like their branding, the air filter, but let's talk about this engine. The iGet is a 155cc 3-valve engine, and I know that says 150, but it's actually 155. How many times have you heard of a company giving you more than they advertise? Well, that's what you get on this, and this engine puts out, per my manual, 12.74 horsepower. Part of this engine is the factory exhaust. You can see this is kind of an oblong exhaust sitting vertically. The chrome shield, some people put black here. I thought I would put black because of this, but I don't know, it's kind of growing on me. But I will probably at some point upgrade the exhaust. Unlike the GTS, you can actually get to this dipstick to check the oil. And opening up this seat, which by the way, ribbed passenger area, it's tapered, so even shorter riders, your legs can come down. And Vespas are kind of wide. That's one thing shorter riders have always struggled a bit with, but you can see they made some cutouts here, kind of tapers. And with this taper, actually sit, even a shorter person, Does pretty good on these. I just pop the button here, turn this on and press the button. So let's open up the seat, and part of the Sprint thing is this white piping on this seat. And inside here is what they call the pet carrier, because no pets. And the pet carrier has room to store quite a bit. You can put a jacket in this, some other things, but not a full face helmet. They've also swanked it up a bit with this kind of fabric insert in here, kind of like trunk carpeting. There's the color I was talking about, but also note this. Castor oil is now the official oil of Vespa. Another bonus here with the underseat storage is this metal guides. These are where you can hang your helmet. Put the D-rings there, so you can put 2 helmets hanging on both sides. And also this little zip tie here, see if I can find it. This is a factory tool kit, and that zip ties here. This turns and will hold there in your seat. So you have your zip tie. Oh, and I'll also mention, I've talked about this before. There's no rock on this seat, this hinge system. You know, cheap Chinese scooters, they'll flop around. No, this is a good sturdy seat system. And it's, look at this little guy. And it's also very easy to press and lock. That's how easy. To unlock it, super easy access. Also where you fill up your gas, which I just did. 2.1 gallon tank. Let me show you another trick here. This pet carrier actually lifts completely out for access to the top of the engine. There's the 155cc iGet engine, 12.74 horsepower. It's also fuel injected. I have become addicted to fuel injection on scooters. I don't want to go back. This gives me everything I need, and so far it's been pretty spunky. Vespa, known for rear racks, well, this one has a rear grab rail, and being the 150, the Sprint 150S, tucked in close to the seat, very sporty, very Vespa with that branding. Now, I've never particularly liked the look of rear racks. I think it takes away from that very Italian sweep back here at the back, but on trips, rear racks are important and come in handy, or if you need one around town. Either way, Vespa's got you covered. But on this 150 Sport, the Sprint 150 Sport, very sporty looking rear grab handle. At the back, the tail light and then 2 running lights. Those would be turn signals anywhere but the United States. Our turn signals down here, those pots. Okay, let's spend a brief moment talking about performance. I'm just going to briefly touch on a few highlights so far because I'm still in the run-in phase on this thing, and I'm a by-the-book kind of guy, so I'm not going to get up to the 80% throttle that is max at run-in, and I'm tapering it up to even the under 80% that I'm going to keep it at just because I want to run things in properly. That means a bunch of slow back road riding, which is boring to watch, but I can tell you this is very much a Vespa. Meaning the smoothness, that stiff frame, that aircraft suspension system, it keeps things smooth more so than practically any other scooter in its class, at least in my opinion. And I'm not being biased. I would tell you if it wasn't worth the money. As a matter of fact, my expectations scale up with price, so as scooters get more expensive, I get less forgiving about things. But this is a good ride. The best ride in the 150cc class. Far smoother than even the 200, that Genuine Rattler 200i, which is a pretty good riding scooter itself. This rides better. Also comparing it to that scooter, it's a 200cc class scooter. This, I believe, I haven't gotten into the throttle all the way, obviously, but I believe, based on my riding thus far, that this has got slightly more torque, at least on the lower end. We'll see how that scales in other videos. I just want to say it's smooth and it's still darty. Even though this is the largest small frame Vespa that I've ever ridden, it does have the scooter nimbleness and the dartiness. Looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. So far it's running in well. I'm over 200 miles so far. No issues, and fingers crossed none will appear. So far it's looking pretty good ride-wise. Fun, it's not loud. You can hear the noise of the scooter in front of me, but it's not loud. This new exhaust system, very quiet, and also they increased the weight on the crank for this engine to smooth it out. You can definitely feel that. Sitting at a red light, sitting at idle, it's not rattling, it's not vibrating. a very smooth running engine, and that bodes well for longevity. There's going to be many more videos coming on this where I'll share more details about the ride as I know more about it. A very, very appealing looking scooter with the features that I want. And that's going to get me to the final feature I'm going to close out this video with, and that's that TFT headset and all the technology built into this. TFT display, I'm doing this inside so we can see it on camera. It lights up quite well. Now in the video earlier, it looked like you couldn't see this out in the sun. You can, it's completely visible. It also auto dims and auto brightens their settings where you can force it to be dimmer or brighter. I use the auto sensing, it's just like an iPhone, where if it's out in bright sunlight, it'll brighten, or in the dark, it'll dim a bit, but it's a full color display. Many functions, I'm inside right now, so I can't run it, but there are indicators for low gas and so on the left, and these indicators and engine indicators, as soon as I start it, it would go off. But I want to show you this mode switch. You can use this as a rocker to control different features like the trip meter, the ride timer, and so on. You can also go into settings on this. Oh yeah, it shows battery voltage. I like that. And this is the fuel gauge here on the left. And these icons on the right, that's my phone. It's connected. There's a Vespa app. I love the naming, Vespa Mia, like Mamma Mia. Vespa Mia. Let me see if I can connect it while I'm filming. Yeah, there we go. We can see it illuminated. I'm connected via the Vespa app. I'm not going to go into it in this video, but this app's pretty cool. It keeps up with a lot of statistics on the bike. I can go over and monitor different facets of the ride, how things are doing. I think that's going to be very important in the future. And this little icon's pretty cool if you have a Bluetooth helmet. And I just happen to have bought a little Bluetooth setup for my helmet. I'm going to turn this on. I want you to watch, if you can see that icon, just how quick this picks up. That just powered on, and we're going to go for a couple of seconds, and there we go. It's already connected, and this is super cool. I can not only take phone calls, I can control things with this rocker switch with voice. So let's do this. This just mimic that I'm riding. Yeah, here we go. Here's something by Quadrophenia from The Who playing through my Bluetooth headset. I can see and control. Via this switch, I can go back, I can go forward on songs. See if I can go forward and go to the next song. Yeah, there we go. And I'm trying to talk loud because it's playing through my headset and I can actually hear it, and I don't want to get the YouTube problems. But this will also do phone calls. It'll show you who you're talking to, who's coming in on a call. It'll show you when you get a text message. Very, very cool. Very good setup. Temperature gauge in the upper right-hand corner. Time in the left. You can even change the graphics here. Let me cancel this song. Down here where it says Vespa, you can actually change the settings to change these graphics so that it will display different things. And these colors will invert. If it's bright daylight, this will be white with black lettering. And here inside this barn, it's inverted. So it's a black background with the white lettering, kind of indicative of night riding. And I might show you this. I'll do a night ride, I think, in the future and show you this at night in action, how it works, because it's pretty good. I like this setup. How it's going to last, we'll see. The Vespa dealer said these are holding up incredibly well. You know, it is tech. There's a module down in there, but I like that it's easily controllable, getting to everything, functional, and I can see it in the daytime. I'm a fan so far. I love the Bluetooth integration. This is my first scooter with a Bluetooth integrated headset and a digital dash that integrates with everything in the headset, and I can control it all from this little button and this display. So there's the Vespa TFT and Vespa Mia, all part of my new Vespa Sprint 150S. I originally set out to get another Vespa GTS 300, but I couldn't pass up the deal. I was quoted for this bike thousands off the regular pricing. If you're shopping for a Vespa, now is a good time since the 2025 models are starting to arrive. Dealers, they're willing to make deals to clear out existing inventory. When it comes to scooters, I don't think you can beat a Vespa. Italian styling, the most famous name in scooterdom, the premium ride experience. And this 155cc engine looks like it's going to be able to compete with scooters in the 200cc class. That makes me happy. What do you think? Is a Vespa worth it? I think so, but let me hear what you have to say. This is always a bike-centric channel, but I enjoy sharing with you my, quote, other two wheels, since scooters do make up a big part of my transportation life. An example of that, I haven't had the need to drive my car in 5 days. Between bicycles and scooters, that's just how I roll. What about you? Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.